Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. We will begin our division previews every Thursday with Andrew DiCecco. We will take a deep dive into the 4 teams in each division. That'll take us right up to training camp. Looking forward to it. We did a great job, or I should say Andrew did a great job with these last years. A lot of depth on all these rosters and teams and all the changes that have been made over the year, over the offseason here. And you'll get a little look inside the AFC East today with Andrew DiCecco, InsideTheBirds.com, as we take a look at the AFC East on our division previews, which start today here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. What's going on, Andrew?
Hey, man, how you doing?
All is good. Looking forward to, the off-season is kind of hitting that slow part, but when we hit this point, when we start to get a look inside the divisions, that means we're getting closer to the start of training camp. So we'll start with the AFC East. So let's start at the top with a lot of people's favorite, the Buffalo Bills, 11-6 last year, first in the AFC East. And you're seeing a lot of people picking this team to maybe be the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. So let's start with that. The AFC East, are they home to the best team in football?
It's early, but I would have to say so. I mean, I thought last year they were, among the elite, and now I think that they've added some pieces that puts them in that conversation. Obviously, there's stability there with Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier, the good defensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey's there as the OC. Josh Allen, I believe, is going to have an MVP caliber season. So the pieces are there. Obviously, the defense as well is very steady and one of the best in football. So I do think that they're going to be in that conversation this season.
All right,
let's got to be able to get over the hump.
Let's start on that offensive side of the ball. Josh Allen, a lot of people's favorite to be the MVP. And just kind of talk about the evolution of Allen and what kind of weapon he is. And, we were talking about he was in the match last night. I mean, he's reached another status, it almost feels like. But where do you see Allen now as a quarterback?
Well, he's a dual threat guy who I think is really taking the next step as far as a passer. He's built that rapport with Stephon Diggs. You got Gabriel Davis, the wide receiver who's emerging. Jamison Crowder is there as well as a slot receiver. He has the weapons, and he's making the most out of those, making the best use out of those weapons. Obviously, he's a dual threat to run with the football as well. I think his decision-making's improved a bunch, and if he's able to stay healthy, he has the pieces around him that would indicate an MVP caliber season. Also have to mention his tight end Austin Knox as well, who I think, if he's someone who's battled injuries, is a very physical player, much sort of plays the game very similar to Dallas Goedert. I think that he's another X factor as far as what they're going to be able to do this season offensively.
Right. Well, then they got Diggs, as you mentioned. After him, Crowder they brought in. The weaponry that Allen has. You think this is, again, I think they were the second best offense or the third best offense in the AFC. Is Allen primed to have a big year with these weapons?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. There's the continuity there, and I think he continues to take the next step and evolve as a passer. And Stephon Diggs, to me, is still one of the top route runners in football. Really a mismatch against any corner that he's going to face. And you start to see their just innate chemistry develop, and it's going to even mature even that much more so even this year. So I don't see why not. And the offensive line, of course, is pretty formidable in its own right.
Yeah, and then, of course, Sean McDermott, who's let me ask you about that, too. McDermott's a defensive guy. Brian Daboll left. Any concern that this offense takes a step back with a new play caller?
Not really. I know they really think highly of Ken Dorsey. Of course, Ken Dorsey was a former quarterback at the University of Miami, so I think that he's going to have that instantaneous rapport with Josh Allen and be able to tap into his natural be able to tap into his skill set and get the most out of him there. And the pieces there are it'd be different if you're getting a lot of outside help, be it free agency or the draft. There's a lot of continuity in place already, and I think Josh Allen's really taken command of that offense and matured as a leader, and just I think that the offense obviously runs through him. So I wouldn't be so concerned just because there's going to be a new play caller in-house.
Okay, now you have a defensive-minded coach. defensively, this is where this team is pretty impressive. They added Von Miller in the offseason. This is a team that can really get after the quarterback. They got Jordan Poyer, has turned into a former Eagle draft pick, by the way, 7th round. He's turned into one of the better safeties in the league. This defense has talent all over the field.
Yeah, Tre'Davious White's one of my favorite corners in football. I think he's a very complete player, a shutdown type of guy, and there's only a handful of those that you can actually put that stamp on as being one of those guys that you can put out there on an island, and they're going to shut down any receiver. So he's one of them. You mentioned Hyde and Poyer being one of the better safety tandems in football, a couple of veteran players there, very astute football IQs, and controlling that middle of the defense there. Von Miller, Ed Oliver, Russo. So there's a lot of guys there to like, and I think that they've helped to bolster their pass rush, which is what I felt was really a deterrent for them late in the season, and was what held them back going against guys like Mahomes and players like of that mold. I thought they really needed to upgrade their pass rush to be more timely in those big games.
Andrew DiCecco, Football at 4. Our division previews start each Thursday. We'll take a look at a different division today. We start with the AFC East, home to the Buffalo Bills. They're the champions. Second place last year with the New England Patriots, and they won 10 games last year. So you've got a new play caller there as well for Mac Jones and that offense. So what do you see from Jones in year number 2?
Well, it's going to be tough for Mac Jones because I don't know that they have a ton of reliable weaponry around him. I should say a lot of firepower that you're going to be able to win games with, especially in that division. I mean, Devontae Parker, of course, they've added, but he's a streaky player. He struggled to stay healthy, but if he's able to stay healthy, he moves the needle a little bit. It gives them more of a reliable presence there opposite Kendrick Bourne, and Jacoby Myers is really a volume-based slot receiver for them. They don't really have a ton of. They have Hunter Henry's there as the tight end, and the running game. I think they've added Damian Harris. That's who it is. Damian Harris is there. So I think the offense is really going to have to run through Damian Harris because the offensive weapons at the skill position is pretty subpar in my opinion.
Now they went out and got Devontae Parker. Hunter Henry is the tight end. They went out and got him last year. You kind of talked about it, whether or not there is enough weapons here. I was surprised to see they were the 4th highest scoring offense in the AFC last year. And you're right, like you look around, but how much does Devontae Parker, does he add that next level of receiver that can take this offense even further?
Not much. I mean, Devontae Parker is a solid player. I think right now he's a better number 2 option for a team and someone that you're not going to I don't know that, like right now he's sort of miscast as a top receiver for this offense, and I don't know that he's that guy, especially at this stage of his career. Lengthy injury history, and when he's on top of his game, I think he's a high-end number 2 and not necessarily a bona fide one that they really need. And then Mac Jones is going to need to help him take the next step in his progression.
When we think of the Patriots, many times through the Belichick era, it's been Brady and then that defense. When you start to look at that defense, is there a standout guy? Is this a defense you have questions about?
Well, when I look at their defense, there's a guy that really intrigued me is Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle they took in the 2nd round of the 2021 draft. Matthew Judon's an interesting player as a weak side linebacker. And Jonathan Jones is a player that they really like as a nickel corner. He's a player that I think is viewed as one of the better slot corners in football. He's been around for at least 5-6 years now. So Devin McCourty's been there forever. They have some veteran players and competent players that they can rely on. But I would look more so to see what they're going to get out of Christian Barmore from the defensive tackle spot, which, as we know, with the Eagles selected Jordan Davis, you get a guy in the middle that can make things happen, and that completely transforms the entire defense and opens things up for everyone else to make some plays.
Andrew DiCecco, Football 4, AFC East. Let's look at Miami. They won 9 games last year, so Buffalo 11, New England 10, Miami 9, Tua, and obviously Tyreek Hill, Jaden Waddle. They drafted last year. They brought back Mike Gesicki, the tight end. This offense is going to be pretty interesting. We're seeing Raheem Mostert they brought in, Chase Edmonds as well. So this offense, what do you think?
Well, it's going to be interesting because they have a lot of speed, on the outside. But do they have the quarterback that can, with the arm, to get it to them, right? I mean, I think that Tyreek Hill is a great fit for any offense. However, the name of his game is speed. So unless you're going to get him the ball in space and things like that, I don't know that Tua is going to be someone that's going to be able to hit Tyreek Hill consistently in stride down the field and maximize his skill set. Same thing with Jalen Waddle. I think they're going to be a little bit underserved with Tua as the quarterback. However, they can be best served with Tua's skill set is getting them in space, kind of like what we thought the Eagles were going to be doing with Jalen Reagor. But that said, in order for Tyreek Hill to be fully utilized to the best of his ability, he's going to have to be that vertical threat that you saw with the Chiefs. But, I mean, they don't have anything close to what Patrick Mahomes is from as far as an arm talent.
No, it'll be interesting to see Waddle and Hill and how they're used in that offense, and if Tua can take his game to another level. That offense should be very interesting to watch. Then you go over to the defensive side of the ball, and again, similar, you're looking at, all right, this is a team that defensively I think has been good, a little disappointing the last couple of years, but do they have enough on that side of the ball to kind of separate themselves from, they did not make the playoffs last year, but do they have a good enough defense to get themselves back to the playoffs?
I think the defense is going to be middling. I think they're going to be serviceable and enough to sort of hold up their end of the bargain, but I don't think that they move the needle very much. I like Jerome Baker, their linebacker. They had Jalen Phillips. Remember, he was their first-round pick in 2021. I'm interested to see what he's able to do in year two. Byron Jones is still there. So, and Javon Holland, the safety that I was very high on in the draft last year as well. Really a do-it-all safety, controlling that middle of the field there for them. So they have some individual pieces that I really like, but collectively, I don't think that their defense is really much. There's really much to write home about there.
Dolphins 9-8 last year, third place AFC East. We're taking a look at the AFC East. Let's go to the Jets, 4-13. They have been a dumpster fire for quite some time, but a lot of high draft picks. People starting to finally feel good about this team. Let's start with Zach Wilson. Where are you on the second-year quarterback?
Not very high. Not very high on Zach Wilson. I saw. I mean, an electrifying college player, but not someone that I saw was pro ready. I thought he could have used another year at BYU. I think last season you saw him really struggle from a processing standpoint and not seeing the whole field and taking some chances and fitting the ball in where he probably making throws that he had no business making. And again, he was a young quarterback. We talk about Mac Jones. He was a quarterback that didn't really have a ton of reliable weapons to facilitate the ball to, but that's going to change this year, and we'll see what he's able to do. Garrett Wilson, you have Corey Davis is there. Elijah Moore is a player that I'm very high on this year as a second-year breakout player. You saw he started to really turn it on the second half of last season. So the players are there, and I think C.J. Uzomah is going to be a player that can be a good security blanket for them, the former tight end of the Cincinnati Bengals that they added. So, I mean, he has the players there. I just need to see more from Zach Wilson as far as just being able to maximize his ability, see the field, process things, and be more consistent with his accuracy. And see it all come together this year.
And one of the things, Andrew, this team, I guess, has drafted on the offensive line, too. So do they have a better offensive line to help him out?
Yeah, Beck is there. They have Vera Tucker, the guard. Max Mitchell is there. He's a fourth-round pick from tackle. So they have some veterans like a Connor McGovern there. They have some guys that I think are going to be able to solidify that. That's always been their problem.
Yes.
As far as being able to protect the quarterback, keep them upright, and being able to let plays develop downfield. They haven't had a stabilizing line going back to even when I covered the Jets when they had Kelvin Beachum and Brandon Shell and a lot of turnstile type of players that just weren't equipped to handle the rush. So I think now they sort of rectified that issue.
You're right about that. And by the way, they went out and got Nate Herbig, too, the former Eagle. See if he fits in there. Defensively for the Jets, I mean, they've put a lot of draft capital into their defense. It hasn't really worked out for them all that much with some of these guys. But are they starting to get some return? Do we think this Jets defense will finally start to be a factor for them?
I do. And, but like anything, I always tell people it might not be instantaneous, right? It's like a bunch of different ingredients that are coming together to make a recipe. So it might take time. I mean, you have a guy in Sauce Gardner, you have Jermaine Johnson, you have Quentin Williams, and I was really high on him coming out of Alabama, and I would love to see more from him. And so, but he's still a very young player. There are cornerstone type of players on this defense, and I have full confidence in Robert Saleh to be able to mold these guys and help them sort of expedite their transition to the pro level. So, I mean, they have a shutdown corner. You have a bona fide pass rusher. Like, they've added building blocks on every level. So I'm really intrigued by what they could potentially be able to do this season.
You're right about that. Very interested to see how Gardner fits in that defense. New York 4-13 last year. All right, Buffalo, New England, Miami, the Jets. Andrew DiCecco, how do you see the AFC East this year?
Well, the Buffalo Bills to me are the class of the AFC East, and I think I'm looking at. I can never downplay what Bill Belichick has done. No matter what, he always seems to be in the running. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Patriots at 2. Dolphins are going to be at 3. Yes, they've added a ton of firepower, but with Tua at quarterback, I don't know how many. Eventually, you're going to be asked to win games, and I don't know if he's ready to do that. Win games with his arm, that is. So they're going to be 3, and then 4th is still going to be the Jets. Again, quarterback. There's a lot of questions there surrounding the quarterback. So we're going to have to see how that goes. I think defensively they're going to take a big step forward. But as far as the offense, I think you're going to see a lot of streaky weeks, in my opinion, particularly from Zach Wilson.
So Andrew's got the same AFC East standings as last year. You don't even have to watch the season. Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, Jets. There you go. A look at the AFC East. We'll count down the divisions on these Thursdays with Andrew. That'll take us right to training camp when the Eagles get underway. By the way, they open up against the Jets on August the 12th in a game you can hear right here on 97.3 ESPN. Andrew, I look forward to it, man. Thanks, bud.
You got it, man. Talk soon.
Yeah, man. Andrew DiCecco back with our division previews on Thursdays during football at 4 right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN.